Make sure your mic is on.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Unmute, Rainey.
Lester Thomas, Administrator for Adult Community Corrections. Today, Commissioner Gaza had a conflict in schedule, so he won't be here. So I will be chairing the meeting. And at this time, we will call this meeting to order at 3:08 p.m. Can I get a roll call?
Chief Judge Pro Tem Larry Williams. Pastor Eddie Williams Jr. Deputy Steward as requested and excused. Andrea Smith. Janella Robinson. Judge Donald Knapp. Armand Harris. Chief Robert Dunlop.
Here.
Eli Day is excused. Sam Sharikian is also excused. Paul Bruno. Chief Judge Pro Tem David Braxton. Dr. Keisha Allen. And Chair Varga is excused. We do not have a quorum.
Okay, we do not have a quorum. Unfortunately, most of this meeting is actually information purposes only and for discussions. So we will move forward with next on the agenda. I'm sorry. Before we move forward, last month, we had 2 new board members present and we did not introduce them and we did not let them introduce themselves. So we have one present today, Dr. Keisha Allen, and I just want to give her this space to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I did think that I did this, but I'll do it again. So I get the opportunity to be the CEO of BFDI International Training Institute. And just to give context in terms of BFDI International Training Institute, Alice Thompson used to be the CEO of Black Family Development. Before she retired, she started 2 companies, BFDI International Training Institute and BFDI Educational Services. So she's still the CEO of BFDI Educational Services. I'm the CEO of BFDI International Training Institute. We get the opportunity to focus on restorative practices and restorative justice. We go into the school systems a lot. We work a lot with our Risa, Washtenaw, especially when it comes to justice with juveniles. We do a lot of work as far as conferencing is concerned. And if you're not familiar with conferencing, it is actually restorative justice conferencing where we have victim offender conferences, allowing those who own the conflict to stay the owners of those conflicts and to be able to resolve conflict and harm and repair it. Outside of that, I get the opportunity to speak around the country. I'm a mom of 1 daughter by the name of Kendall Allen, and I have been the wife of Paul PDA Allen for 26 years now. I know I look 26, so I'll take that too.
Great. Do we have any questions for Dr. Allen? Okay. Welcome. We're excited that you are with us. Next on the agenda?
Do you want to go to remarks from the chair? Or do you have any remarks you want to state as the administrator?
I don't have any remarks.
Okay. We will move item C, approval of the minutes from the January 22nd, 2026 meeting to the next meeting as we do not have a quorum. Moving to unfinished business, there is none listed. Item E, new business, number 1, update on the board's realignment.
Okay, great. How's everybody doing today?
Well,
Thank you all for coming out. I am just going to basically give an update on, we're going through this, for lack of a better word, realignment. So I wanted to actually give you an update on everything that we've been doing since then and where we are at, and where our next steps after getting that budget officially before commission. So it was so many moving parts as we discussed at our last meeting. I had been listening to everybody, so I wanted to just really let you know exactly what we were doing. So first thing, me and Commissioner Garza had a meeting. We talked about what was going on with community corrections and some of the ideas that we both shared and what was the best way to communicate that to this board. So secondly, I also had a meeting. I had been getting a lot of feedback on who I should meet and who I should talk to pick their brains as well as get them to understand and learn about community corrections if they did not know. So I met with Tamila Aiken. Some of you may have know her. She's director of court services, but she also used to be in this seat. So I had a great conversation with her, got some excellent feedback and some suggestions. Simultaneously, while we were meeting together, we met for maybe an hour, and then Miss Angela, I hope I don't pronounce the name wrong, Astorio, who is the manager of pretrial services, jumped on the meeting and provided additional information regarding what we do, collaboration, what they knew, what they did not know, how they can help us, and all those things. So we started that dialogue and that open conversation that will continue until we get to where we want to be, and they are officially where we say partners. Also met with Nicole Gilbert, who leads Indigent Defense Services. Was also another partner I had been advised that we need to meet with to familiarize her with community corrections, in particular, all of our programming, so that we can make sure that utilization is maximized. For the last 3 weeks, I have mostly been working at the center, the community, well, what is it, CJC, in particular in the jail in the classification unit, because we have somebody that from our office, actually, she's currently on medical leave, but works there. So I went in there to find out exactly what is going on, what's working, what's not working, where we can make improvements are, the dialogue, if it's any communication gaps or anything that's going on. We actually we're working on that. We've already started to work on some things, get some questions answered that will help us become more efficient as well as more effective. One of the things that I was while I was working in the jail, prosecutor assistant prosecutor, I think her name is Sarah DeYoung. She actually called me while I was working there, and we talked through a recommendation, her writing up a recommendation for our programming to make sure that it was correct before she took it before the judge. So for me to work there, to actually for that to happen, that gave me a different eyesight that I did not have. But seeing it firsthand, it gave me some creative ideas to start. Okay, how do we increase that dialogue with the entire prosecutor's office and different things like that, so they know. And then I sat in on two-hour jail programming on 3F. Uh, Chief Dunlap, I was on 3F. Me and Mr. Singleton, we sat in on the domestic violence class in the jail, and then we sat in on the Lake Ridge cognitive behavior therapy class. Um, we were able to look at the spacing and some of the requests they were asking for. So and we'll elaborate later on if that's feasible or not. But one class, the domestic violence class, when we sat in there, they had 7 in the class, and then the cognitive behavior therapy class with Lake Ridge, they had 11 in their class. So we paid attention to that. Meeting with all those people, the consensus is making community corrections known again. That's the feedback I was getting. I was told that when we're talking about literature and creating a brochure on our programming, um, that it needs to be a simplistic handout. In particular, when we're trying to get it to the judges, to the prosecutors, defense counsel, um, and it should basically um, be three things on that handout. And that should be eligibility. Who's eligible for the program? What's the criteria? Second thing was, what is the referral process? How do we get them in the program? And then what is the why? Why should we put them in this program? And let me stop, because I want you all to, you can chime in at any time. So those are the things that we're going to start working out of. And one of the things that when I ran this by when me and I shouldn't say ran it by, but when me and Commissioner Garza talked, one of the things that we're going to strategically try and do is, like a situation like this, because of all the expertise and the excellence at this table, if we were to come out with what we think is a simplistic handout, it would go to the CCAB board first. And we will make sure that every eye that represents a particular entity sees it and approves it. We can add, delete, or whatever. And once it is complete, we will disperse it to everybody so it can go from top to bottom. And everybody has that about adult community corrections, meaning the judges have it, the prosecutors have it, the Michigan Department of Corrections have it, the classification unit in the jail has it. Everybody has it, and more importantly, everybody has the same thing. And that is critical. I want to share something with you. One of just for instance, on an index card, one of my staff had what she called a cheat sheet about the two programs in the jail, which was the domestic violence as well as the cognitive behavior. Domestic, I'm sorry, the cognitive behavior is still to a lot of people known as jail plus. Okay, and she just quickly this is on an index card. It's a 30-day CBT class, 90 to 20 days inpatient at a community residential services facility, aftercare, with MDOC approval. That's what she had for that one. And then for domestic violence batterers intervention, 90-day jail plus 26-week outpatient, or 90-day jail only, or outpatient only, or community-based only. So that's what she had. But how do we hear everybody's voice and come up with something that is beneficial, that is working, that everyone has, and then strategically decide how often we need to revisit it and revisit it? Because what we're trying to do is, if we're saying we need more collaboration, we need partnership, trying to eliminate any gap that may be there. And I know communication is one of the gaps that's there. Um, 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 I was told that the judges are really not aware of our vendors. So how do we resolve that? How do we get them to know our vendors and the work that our vendors do? And we have to learn what is needed exactly from the court, and then making sure community corrections are present in almost every stakeholder's entity that is available, whether it's via a Zoom meeting monthly, whether it's in person or whatever. So these are just some of the things that came out of these meetings that I had. Again, they're fluid, they're ongoing. Some of these meetings we will meet again. But what I wanted you all to know is that we after last month's meeting, we said, okay, let's start working now, because we want to be able to present regularly to you all, get your expertise and your guidance. Vote what needs to be voted on, we vote on it. And then because we also are looking at making sure that when we present our next grant application, they see everything. Okay, Michigan Department of Corrections sees everything that we're doing and what we plan to do. Okay, so that's that's where we're at right now. So I said, I think, a mouthful. Any questions? You want me to explain anything more, suggestions, or anything? Yes, Dr. Allen.
I'm pushing. There we go. So just points of clarification for me, coming into this process. I heard you, but I want to make sure that I'm connecting the dots appropriately. So what I hear you saying is we have these programs that are available, but people don't know about them, right? So are you then saying that the creation of a flyer that lists the three elements, eligibility, referral process, and the why, would be given to those judges or whomever so that they can make appropriate referrals to these programs? So for example, the one that had the 7 people in it, the one with Lake Ridge that just had the 11 people. So then is the purpose to increase the participation with those particular programs by having this flyer?
That's part of it.
Okay.
We realize we have to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the critical components that we see, that when I've been here almost 2 years now, and we've been struggling with utilization,
Sure.
not maximizing our programming. And we're trying to get to the why, because I think the consensus is we have enough people to maximize our programs. So what is prohibiting us from doing that? This is one of the things. There will be more dialogue, more discussions per se with the judges, with the prosecutors, with everybody to get more detail, and we will add to that. But we have to start somewhere, and this is one of the uniform themes that I heard in meeting with those people, that we need to come up with something that's more simplistic, but very knowledgeable, because we have the programs, and programs are free. We have grants for it. So we got to make sure that we cannot. There's no more assumptions. That was one of the reasons the vendors came in to present. So you at least have an idea. We'll do more of that. We will actually, in the future, start our next meeting, we will actually have the statistics of our utilization, so you'll understand. Just say if it's by the end of the year, just say our violence prevention program should have served, we have funding for 100 people. That means by every month we should have so many referrals. We'll be able to look, we're going to start tracking that data and say, we're at 15, but we should be at 25. Let's talk about it. And so did I kind of answer your question?
You did, which leads me to my last piece. And that is, I am wondering, as far as branding is concerned and people knowing about the programs that we have, and as a person who does graphic design way on the side, I know that flyers alone don't build connections and relationships. And so I'm wondering, to the point that you started with, or coming full circle, you gained a different purview by actually being there.
That's correct.
Right. So I'm wondering to what extent we need to have people who actually experience it, as opposed to just putting it on a flyer, so that they can come away with the same kind of passion that you did. So I'll offer that.
Okay. Elaborate a little bit more what you just said. How would that look?
It would look like you. It would look like what you did.
Okay.
You started off by saying that you were able to visit and experience these programs. And as a result of you actually being in the place, you didn't see it on the flyer, you didn't read about it. It was you actually being there that changed your perspective.
Okay.
So the same thing that we're asking for people who might make referrals is what we were talking about last week when we were talking about visiting the jail. You don't know. And so when people are making decisions based upon what's on a piece of paper, as opposed to actually experiencing the reality of what may be going on, vision and decisions can be skewed until you've been actually in the place. So what it looks like is setting up a time, a date, a place. for those people who we are asking to do these referrals to actually visit these places and to be a part of it. That way they can have a firsthand view of what it's all about. And it's not through word of mouth, it's through experience. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Ms. Robertson.
I can add to that. I'm sorry. In the past, our probation agents have visited the various vendor locations or agencies or providers, and it gave them firsthand knowledge and built a relationship with the vendors and providers. It's definitely was a practice in the past. Judge Kenny would always invite us to go with him to Salvation Army Harbor Light.
Okay.
And with Judge Kenny present and us present, and we would have some probationers come too, depending upon the situation, if it was for a graduation or something to that extent. But the visits themselves helped build the relationship. And when the relationship is there, I know for our staff, they're more inclined to make the referrals because then they trust the entity to do exactly what they say they're going to do. And then they have a person who they feel like they can personally talk to get the information they need to be able to support that particular probationer in moving forward with success. So as you look at opportunities, we will be open and willing to come out, visit sites alongside you. A lot of times agencies, even still to this day, who are not a part of CCAB will offer open house opportunities, and our agents go out. And that's the way they establish that relationship. Even outside of CCAB, we get those offers all the time to come out, see our sites. And then the other thing, and I know we've talked about it, is even offering the agencies to come, they have the ability to come to our offices and meet with not only the agents, but my counterpart, Mr. Rogers, who's here, one of the region managers as well in Wayne County, came up with a suggestion of having our probationers within the first 30 days of sentence meet with agencies in our office directly. So then that way they can see who's offering exactly what their needs are. And they can also talk to the agents themselves, the providers, not just the agents, but also the providers, and say, can you get me a referral? I'd like to go over to this particular agency and have them help me along, my journey. So that's one of the things we did with Lake Ridge Village. When we went out to tour, we found that they built a strong relationship with people. And they just asked us to get them in the door, and then they would keep them. They would make sure that they're committed to stay with their agency long-term to be successful. So I definitely agree. The relationship beyond the piece of paper goes a long way.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yes, Judge Knapp.
So I think the things I've touched upon make entire sense. I think the whole idea of having information is great. Seeing it and having the opportunity to meet one-on-one with judges, and not only judges, but I would say docket attorneys, the attorneys like, you mentioned Assistant Prosecutor Sarah DeYoung. She's a docket attorney. So she's making recommendations, offering plea deals to the defense attorneys who have cases in front of me and other judges.
Okay.
Right. To the extent that she's got a resource, has some familiarity, that's going to help. I think we've talked about in the past creating, and you've mentioned it also, creating sort of a cheat sheet for each program, right? And I think what I find helpful is I have a bookshelf by my bench, and it's got a lot of different things in there that I can just pull off at a moment's notice. If I have a question, it's nice to have that resource just to be able to pull up and open up. So to the extent you have, like a 1/4-inch binder or a folder with one page for each program, and have like maybe even little tabs, and not just sort of dropping it off, but if you need help meeting with some of my colleagues, we can meet in groups of 1, 2, 3 at a time. Introduce yourself, make that presentation, hand them that material, and then say, we're offering tours of these facilities,
Okay.
right? And make it, to the extent you can, as convenient as you can for those individuals, right? So not only people in probation who are making recommendations, a lot of times and we're following recommendations from the probation department. But you know, the prosecutor's office should know what would be a good program to consider as part of a plea where there's going to be probation. So whether it's, you know, jail plus or DVT, you know, whatever it is, they have some knowledge and can make sure that they're utilizing those programs that are available. So I'm happy to do that, but I think we really do need to have that. And the sheet should say, like, you know, this is what they do, this is what they offer. And I would also have maybe some contact information. So if there's somebody, maybe if they want to call somebody at Lake Ridge Village, who's that?
Okay.
And to the extent that they can, each of those providers can maybe provide some updates, sometimes they're helpful. I don't know how somebody's doing on probation rather than just hearing about it from a probation officer who's, you know, sending us a show cause or a warrant.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
City corrections used to have a bench guide. That might have been many years ago. Bench guide have the programs, the services, contacts. Ms. Akins may have spoken a little bit about that with Mr. Thomas, not sure.
Bench guy, yeah, we talked about that and it would definitely need to be updated, but we can make that happen.
Something else to your point that you just said that came into my head was as this becomes successful, the hope is that
Say that again.
becomes that people will be at capacity, right? And so we don't want people making referrals and then they can't get into those places. So I'm wondering, is there some type of system that even exists? I don't know, where judges are able to look on that system to say, hey, they have room, da 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 da, to be able to meet with this person or whatever the case may be before it's actually referred over. What'd you say?
So we take capacity.
Right, we will take,
That's a good question.
yes, Chief Dunlap.
So, I agree both with what Dr. Allen and Judge Knapp shared. And I'm sitting here wondering as I hear them talk, I know in Third Circuit, we have a veterans court and a drug court and
Sobriety court.
a sobriety court. Is there certain judges that handle those dockets?
Yes.
And so, you know, when we talk about judges, I think we need to narrow it down like that. You're not trying to meet with the whole Third Circuit Court. You really need a relationship with those judges, the one that handles those dockets, and maybe, you know, regular frequent visits to those individuals. Uh, maybe through some shared space in the space that you guys occupy in the jail, you know, maybe the supervisor there, to Dr. Allen's question, hey, you know, utilization is low. Uh, Miss Allen, go up to the sobriety court. Make sure that the judge is aware. Here's what our numbers have been, Judge. Just want to make you aware of it. You know, because that's different than looking at a flyer. So you have somebody right there in the jail. They know exactly what judge handles those dockets. And they're going up saying, hey, you know, you do remember we have these programs. I just want to make you aware of where the utilization rate is, and judge, we have plenty of room. I think that goes a long way because when we say judges, you know, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, all of the judges don't handle all of these type of cases, right?
Judge Knapp.
So we all put people on probation. We're all going to
Okay.
handle we're all going to have cases that involve mental health issues, domestic violence issues. There are some judges that are going to handle those more specifically, like Judge Baker Robinson handles our mental health court. We're adding another arraignment court judge. Right now we have two. Judge Nick Hathaway is going to be that third starting March 2nd. That's probably the people you want to start with first because they're going to they're going to try to plead out as many of those sort of lower level cases where you may need these programs and hopefully they don't get to people like me for a trial or to sort of take them to the next level. So you're right. I mean, I think going to those treatment court judges could be a good, and the arraignment court judge is probably a good first step. But honestly, I think all the judges should know about these
Okay.
programs.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
You know, jail
I agree
flux, you know, we're
all
all
of them
dealing with
should know, but
OWI
I'm like, in
sorry.
terms of the docket, it's like, well, my guess is they handle a larger volume of the cases.
Yeah.
You know, I'm, you know, I don't think we should exclude anyone because the other part of my thought is, I know the district court administrators meet 2 or 3 times a year. And I'm also wondering if there would be some benefit in, you and your team showing up at the district court administrators meeting, making sure that these court administrators are aware, because I know we get a lot of stuff out of 36 district court. And so all of the county court administrators meet, like, I know twice a year. And I know Alyssa Shannon has gone to some of those meetings representing the circuit court. So uh, I think the key is not only information, but face-to-face engagement as well.
Thank you so much. Anybody else have any comments?
Just one more thing. To the extent you put together, sort of a cheat sheet flyer for each program, I'm happy to take whatever draft you have and take a look at it and, maybe mark it up, make some changes. To kind of move that process along. Because I think, the quicker we do that, we create that set of documents, those set of cheat sheets, then we can just, take the next step, set up those meetings and, make those introductions, invite them to visits for these facilities, introduce them to these folks.
Okay. That was the plan, to make sure that we presented to everyone here before so we can make those corrections and everything.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, as we prepare for our next vendor meeting, some good suggestions here. Now, strategically, where do we have it? Who do we invite and make sure everybody is present. So we are basically making it as convenient as possible and sharing as much pertinent knowledge that we can, so we don't have to repeat anything unnecessarily, but we can actually say plant something and we know it's on good soil and we can move to something else, because with so much fluidity that's going on and so many changes that are ongoing, we are trying to just say, okay, once we get something, let's make sure that everyone has it and we can move to something else, because it's a lot of moving parts here. And that's where we're at, because next is presenting the budget to commission, planning that vendor meeting, and continuing this collaborative process with every stakeholder that's available. Um, how do we meet? How regularly do we meet? What do you need to know from us? Like you said, meeting with the people in person and asking them, saying, what do you need from us at these meetings? So we're prepared to provide you what you need so you can make decisions that help. Not only we're helping you, but you're also helping us. And I believe once we start doing it and we're able to collect and present data, it will help all of us. Yes, Ms. Robinson.
Question for you. If you can consider when you have your vendor meetings, open up an opportunity for an invitation for agents to
Yes,
participate?
yes.
Okay.
I wrote it down. I'm listening.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah, that's why I said vendor meeting, to know who to invite and making sure that the facility per se is big enough and is convenient enough that everybody can be there and we can have some serious dialogue, and establish that continued partnership that's needed to get everybody where we're trying to get to.
Thank you.
Yes, Attorney Bruno.
The one thing I didn't hear was that we will prepare an expectation sheet for the participants, so that the judge that orders the program knows what the expectations are for the program. And in my opinion, the expectation sheet should be very short, very simple, and easy to read, because many of the people get into trouble because they don't have literacy skills. So, in my opinion, for each of the programs, there should be a very, very simple statement so that the judges know what is expected and the participants know what is expected. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Got that down. I put some stars by that one. Turn to Bruno.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Uh, um, yes.
Referral process, it's reviewed to make sure that all of the providers have either the same unified referral process, or if it's unique to each agency, that's fine as well. I have found that when it's a uniformed referral process where there's one resource, it may have a better outcome. And you can evaluate and determine whatever you all feel is best, because I know it would be either, the county community corrections, your team being on the side of the referral, or each of the individual agencies, but just making sure that that referral process is something that's non-cumbersome and as simplified as possible as well. And if you all have the ability, even before we develop a full-scale brochure, handout, booklet, or whatever, to look at what we currently have in place and get that information back out to us, so that my staff can immediately make sure that they're making the referrals properly. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. You all have a handout in front of you all as we continue this discussion. It's this is another thing me and Commissioner Garza talked about. Last month we gave you all a copy of the proposal of the State Advisory Board of Community Corrections. And one of the things it had was the three criminogenic needs of Wayne County that was collected by the Compass data. The first one is vocation and education. The second one is criminal personality. And the third one is social environment. We have programs that are actually addressing those. Okay. What we have to start deciding is, or should I say, not just deciding, but also collecting the data to for evidence-based purposes, for lack of a better word, where we can collect, analyze, and present the data correctly. Okay, that's the first thing. Simultaneously, we were brainstorming, picking our brains, and one of the ideas that we came up with is having subcommittees on the Community Correction Advisory Board. We're talking. Nothing has been. We're talking. Nothing has been. But the three that we focused on, that we talked about in front of you, will be like utilization. That will be a team that will regularly analyze utilization data and develop strategies for continuing improvement and maximizing our utilization. Okay, that will be one team, one committee. I'm sorry, subcommittee. Another one will be the program evaluation / evolution subcommittee. That's a team that will regularly. They got everybody. I'm sorry, I thought I gave you one.
No, you shouldn't have missed her.
I know, I thought I gave her one. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I thought everybody had one. Okay. A program evaluation evolution subcommittee, a team that will regularly analyze our current programs and provide insight on any improvements, as well as begin to recommend new programming that will benefit community corrections. And third is vendor collaboration. That's a team that will collaborate with our vendors to recommend and implement any improvements needed, such as space availability in the jail and the referral process. When we had this dialogue that we talked about, we had some great ideas and some great creativity and suggestions. Um, when we have this wealth of knowledge on this board, we need to utilize it. You all will see things that we may not see. You can pick your brains, but these subcommittees, I believe, will make adult community corrections in Wayne County. It could take us to another level because you all will be able to sit down and say, okay, we'll be providing for lack of an example is the utilization. Okay, we know utilization has not been where it was, but you can look at the data and say, this is where we are. You then can begin to ask questions and make suggestions on what can enhance the utilization. Likewise, the program evaluation and evolution subcommittee can look and say, this program is outdated. This program is not working. This is what the court needs. Can we create this program? That could be a subcommittee, and then the vendor collaboration, working with the vendors in total and saying, a vendor may say, we need more space in the jail. Is it feasible? How can we do it? And then present to the CCAB board, and we take votes and we try and basically make this thing better. That's suggestion. I'm just right now asking for feedback. How does it sound? Doesn't have to be these subcommittees, but I, we're trying to be uniform, but also getting as much help and partnership as possible because, for lack of a better, we cannot continue the way we're going. And when we're looking at funding, let's you're talking about from when I starting, we may have a 60% reduction in staffing. So
Subcommittees or CCAB permit the inclusion of maybe designated representatives to serve on our behalf on some of these subcommittees?
that's something we could. It does not. I'm looking at Miss McCann, and she said it does not.
Subcommittees are only subjected to just the actual members of CCAB?
Come on up, Miss McCann.
Oh. Um, Ebony McCann, Transition Services Division Director. So the PA 511 statute speaks specifically to who can sit on the board and make decisions for community corrections. So as it stands right now, Chief Dunlap is the designee of the sheriff. Mr. Bruno is a designee of prosecutor. So we already have designees that are represented that can then make decisions for the board. Obviously, all of our meetings provide the opportunity for public comment. So I think that in the past, Ms. Draheim has attended and offered some insight. Mr. Rogers is here, can absolutely offer insight, but as it pertains to like the planning and development, you guys are the designees.
Because I understand that with the decision making, but the recommendation part, that's why I was wondering, because sometimes, and I have to go back and look at the governance structure on it all, but sometimes there's advisory boards that don't necessarily sit on the board and they're not in a decision-making role. So just seeing when we talk about expanding roles, expanding duties, and being able to utilize people who might have even more of a broader ability to help support these subcommittees, if that's something that the governance structure permits, I think it's something to be considered. And I'll take a look, and I know I can look further too with Molly and the state boards. But if there's a way, because I get we're the decision-making body, but with a subcommittee, having them be able to be an entity that supports giving additional information to us, potentially, I'm hoping that can happen.
So, yeah, definitely open to the discussion. As you are aware, this body does have bylaws. If those changes are permitted by the state Community Corrections Advisory Board, then the local bylaws would need to be updated to reflect that modification. But I think that obviously is a discussion that we would need to have with the state level Community Corrections Advisory Board, as well as ensure that we are in alignment with our Wayne County Commission and our Corp Council representatives here. So I think that that is a discussion that that we can have.
And Ms. Robinson, one of the angles I was looking at when we were discussing subcommittees, just say you volunteer to be on a subcommittee. You will have access to people out that may be able to give some good critical advice. And then they don't necessarily have to be on our board or anything, but you can pick their brains and bring it back to us and say, this is what this population is saying that can help. And everybody can take that ideal, because you all Judge Knapp has a different angle of, because he's from the bench. Attorney Bruno is from the prosecutor's office. So everybody has different angle, optics, and lenses, and they will be able to approach people that are in the courtrooms, that are probation agents and different things, that can give great feedback on what's working, what's not, what's needed, and then how do we tie that into these communities? I mean, these subcommittees, and then make sound and recommendations, because I just think we need at this particular time more is needed. So that's the floor is open to how you feel about it and these subcommittees and different things. Yes, Attorney Bruno.
As I've expressed in private,
Mm-hmm.
I am very, very reluctant to have subcommittees. We are the subcommittee. And whenever you have a subcommittee of a subcommittee,
Right.
which is in the first subcommittee
Go first.
is subject to another committee above it, the Wayne County Commission. By the time you get done with the subcommittee to the subcommittee,
Yeah.
the rest of the members who may not be able to attend or may not want to attend are going to get less information than this committee gets. This committee, by law, if I understand the statute correctly, allows us to help set policy. And policy includes voting on the budget. And it's up to the administrator to develop the strategies, to get the statistics, to recommend improvements to programming. And we sit and hear your arguments and your statistics, and we get to vote on it. To me, look at our attendance today. To me, inviting a subcommittee to our subcommittee is just asking for trouble. And I have some things that I'll wait until more board members are here. But I'll end it right there.
Okay. Received. Anybody else have any comments?
So I have a question. So I heard you say subcommittees to evaluate like utilization and things like that. And I also heard the good doctor asked earlier if there's a way that we can measure this. So it made me think about our jail dashboard. Is there funding available for us to use technology to measure these things? Because if there's funding, I believe if not all of these people go through the jail, we already have a dashboard that could track the utilization. But of course, we'd have to add some additional fields to the dashboard. And so if you just take a look at sheriffconnect.com and look at the jail dashboard, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It tells you the jail population today, who's out on Tether. Tether is a program. I mean, we can add, you know, domestic violence, whatever programs, you know, that we want to track and measure. I don't know. That's my recommendation. If we can, you know, if there's funding to use technology to help measure and track this, you know, so that this board at a glance can take a look. We don't have to wait till we meet once a month or every 2 months. It's at, you know, our fingertips daily. And so your staff is monitoring it. They can send up a notification to you. And this information is available to the public, the jail dashboard. So it's my thought.
You're speaking of utilization, not just in the jail. This is all program.
All
utilization?
programming,
Okay.
Okay,
all programming, particularly community corrections programming.
okay.
Okay.
So,
And let me I guess elaborate a little bit. When we were thinking about these subcommittees. We've been meeting because of what's going on monthly.
mhm,
Prior to that, I believe it was quarterly.
mhm,
Okay. A lot of times the information and the wherewithal that's needed from meeting to meeting is just not enough time to get it. Okay. The subcommittees will help with that, where you might be able to give subcommittees an assignment. And then when we come back for that next meeting, we have multiple reports that we may be able to, because you can meet in between the meetings as a subcommittee and just provide information if you get an assignment, and it can be a very simple assignment. So that was the thinking. That was, like I said, it was a suggestion. So just where we are, so if it's voted down, we move forward. So if we don't have any more comments, we just need to know who each board member's opinion on subcommittees. Yay, nay, got to think about it or what? Because we gotta. It was a suggestion, so.
I would look at as I said, I'd like to take a look at the governance structure, the
Okay.
bylaws further. And yes. I'm not talking. But if it's permissible, I'm in support of it. Not as the decision-making authority, but I can see some benefit to the being more strategic in what we're looking at as either this body or a subcommittee body, but being more strategic in actually having very specific roles in what we're looking at to help drive decisions. So at this moment, I'm in support of it. I would say that I'd take a little bit further glance at the governance structure, state board, as well as the bylaws, and see if there's any room to actually be able to move in that direction.
And just for clarity, we just said subcommittees. If we decide another name or whatever, that's fine too. And secondly, even if it was a subcommittee, whatever has to be approved by the entire Community Correction Advisory Board. So just say if 3 people decide they want to be on the utilization subcommittee, they don't make decisions. They may come back with some recommendation stuff, but this entire board will we will vote yay or nay.
Last question,
Mhm.
almost maybe. We're not the only county with community corrections. So I'm just
Right.
wondering if there's been any analysis across the state to see if there's any other locations that have already went that direction, attempted to go this direction, or have some other counter type of board. Because if it's already there, we can look at it and see that it's effective, it's working, or it was something that was already disallowed, and we would know we can't go that way. So just suggest if that could be analyzed to determine if it's even a possibility.
Yes, Judge Knapp.
So it sounds like we've kind of developed a strategy about the way we want to proceed,
Mm-hmm.
right? Why not see if it works? I mean, if we're having all these meetings, creating this information, encouraging people, getting them to come to these facilities or providing these services, and we say, okay, over the next 3-4 months, that's the plan. We're going to put that in place, and then begin to measure whether or not that's working. And if it's not, then it would seem to me that we need to sort of take a deeper dive into, what did we do, what didn't work, and what do we need to do differently? But it seems like
Okay.
the first plan is not to sort of have a committee, but to have that plan in place to boost utilization, boost awareness, and then to the extent that the numbers aren't tracking in the way that they should, then kind of break off and decide, where we need to focus.
Okay.
And maybe it's only one committee, maybe it's two, I don't know. But that would seem to me be an approach I might consider.
Okay.
Yeah, I support that approach. You know, I don't mind meeting, but I want to make sure that I, you know, give my all when I meet, and to sit here and say, well, yep, let's do another subcommittee. I'm just gonna be honest. My head is not there, right? And so again, as Judge Knapp said, I think we came up with, maybe a good plan on, how to restart, if you will. And if that works, then maybe we can think, do we need this subcommittee or do we need something else? I'm big on the technology piece. I do believe that, I don't know. So I have people that work for me that's like really good with Excel. It doesn't have to be this dashboard, but um, I'm just gonna say it. A lot of people are afraid of Chat GPT, right? Because
Hmm.
Chat GPT, um, it'll give you bad information if you just tell it to tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
But if you use Chat GPT to interpret what you put in it, it will interpret what you put in it. And so I say this because the company that built this dashboard for Wayne County Sheriff's Office, he told all of his 400 employees, if you don't learn Chat GPT, it's going to replace your job. And so, he says a lot of folks don't know, with a paid subscription, we can actually take those spreadsheets that you give us and it'll build a dashboard. We just have to verify it. And so, a paid subscription to Chat GPT, I understand it's like $40 a month. I don't know if that's something that, your team could, use, but I think we need to explore options with technology.
So I'll just tell you where I am with it. I almost saw this as two separate things. The first one was about branding, about making sure that the programs that we have are appropriately being referred to, so on and so forth, making sure that the community is aware of who we are, why we are, what we offer, making sure that the referral process was intact. I saw that as one lane. Connected to that lane was the part of making sure that the programs that we are referring people to are actually working as they should. I saw that as two different things. I don't know. But that being said, if that is the case, I am in support of subcommittees if it is this body that is breaking down into those subcommittees, right? To the attorney's point, bringing in additional people, developing the red tape layers, if you will, is not advisable to me. Doesn't seem like it's the best benefit. But if this committee, if this body, I'm sorry, this board is trying to break down into those subcommittees to make sure that these three areas are measured appropriately, that what we're referring people to is actually what we say, then I am for that.
And just again for clarity, the subcommittees will consist of someone from this Community Correction Advisory Board. It will be nobody outside of this Community Correction Advisory Board. It is just an ideal for more collaboration, more eyes and ears on everything that we're doing, so that we can get to where everybody, I believe, at this table wants to get to, which is maximizing our utilization, making sure that we have strong programming, strong relevant programming for our offenders, and that we can say Wayne County's Community Correction Advisory Board is a model for not just Michigan, but for the world. How do we brainstorm and collectively continue to try and make that happen? So that was the thinking behind the subcommittees. And like I said, once I email it out and when we have more dialogue about that, vote up or down and we move forward. Regardless, we're going to move forward because we like Judge Knapp said and Dr. Allen, we have things right now that are priorities that we will start. We've started some of them. Now we will just add to them and start doing them to make sure that we're all collectively engaged and we're making sure that what needs to happen is happening, that all parties are aware. We have the simplistic model. We set up the visits so you see it, not just something on paper. So it's things that we will start doing immediately. So don't for lack of a better word, we will start doing that immediately, and then we will just continue to work together and I like to say to make great things happen with adult community corrections in Wayne County. That's the goal, and that's the partnership, and the dialogue has to continue because it would be useless if we did not maximize the genius of this board, because it's a lot here. And I think we can have additional great ideas that will only grow and expand community corrections. Yes, Chief Dunlap, and then Attorney.
And I don't mean to prolong the meeting, but I'll say it like this. I guess in my head, you know, when I think advisory board, I don't think me being part of the advisory board, it sit and also say, okay, now I gotta, track data and say, okay, utilization is down here. I see it as someone tracking that for us and presenting it to the board. And then, as you said, yep, we review it and say, okay, well, here are some suggestions. When we say subcommittee, I think I need a little more information about exactly what that subcommittee is going to do because, you know, with all of, the different things that I do, I have a lot of subcommittees under me that bring me this information. And then I meet with certain individuals and say, okay, well, here's the problem. Let's hear the suggestions. So I have different people plugging this information in, tracking the information, and that's what I think of when you say subcommittee. And honestly, it's like I don't know how I have extra time on this committee to do that part of it.
But what I'm hearing though is you have subcommittees that's working.
For me, so that I can be here.
Okay.
Because if I'm doing what they're doing, then it's hard for me to be here. And so that's what I'm saying about this. You know, if this advisory board turns into a role where now, okay, I'm a part of a subcommittee that's, you know, tracking this program and the data of this program, producing reports and making recommendations, that's gonna be a little taxing.
But that was the point of having the discussion.
Hmm.
We will move forward one way or the other.
Well, I know, because
And-
I'm gonna have a sub
and-
meeting with you at church.
And
So,
we'll keep doing what we're doing,
no, no,
what we're doing, because this was not meant to be voted on today
okay.
or make a decision, because first of all, Commissioner Garza is not here. He has a voice on how he feels about the subcommittees, and then there are numerous board members that are not here. This was just something because we were having an open dialogue discussion of everything that has transpired since our last meeting, as well as some of the things we've talked about. We wanted to just fill you on everything that was going on so that we can have this robust conversation that we're having and we had today. That was it. It was not, and like I said, it doesn't even have to be called a subcommittee. So I'm just
It's
letting
good.
you all know, okay?
It's
And,
good.
and to Chief Dunlap's point, neither did I get the impression from this that everyone on the advisory board had to be
All right.
involved in the subcommittee.
That's correct.
That it's by willingness, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Good point.
Yes, Attorney Bruno.
Forgive me for doing this to you. But it's my opinion that we are being targeted by the state without justification. Our CEO Evans, has stated that in any number of ways. His unhappiness with Lansing. And I would just like to know from you, what is your opinion? Are we being targeted or not? And I think targeted unfairly by the state. We have the majority, I believe, of criminal arrests in Wayne County.
Oh, yeah.
And the reasons that I heard at the last meeting were unresponsive to the issues. So,
Attorney Bruno, as I sit in this seat, I can't
Make
I'm not touching that. But what I will say is, as the administrator of adult community corrections, I see the changes that are needed and what we can do to make adult community corrections better, starting with maximizing our utilization. That's where our focus needs to be. And we can do that, and we will do that with some corrections and some again, this collective genius that this board. I think that's where our focus is, because when we look at the data, utilization is not being maximized. Let's prioritize and change that.
Good point. You can do that.
That's where the focus has to be at. Can't get caught up in the politics. We have to say, we can do this, and we're going to do it.
no, they caught us up in the politics by reducing our budget without adequate justification.
Now,
So I
got
take
what-
issue with.
I got what you're saying, Attorney Bruno, but I'm just giving you clarity when it comes to adult community corrections as a whole. If you are not, they have numerous community correction advisory board and programs in Michigan. Okay. If you're not using the monies for your programming, it potentially can go somewhere else. Do you understand that?
That
you
would
agree?
that would be fine if, on the other hand, when we exceed what they've given us, they supplement us. But that's not the case. So it's a one-way street, and that's what I'm
Okay.
concerned about.
Okay. Let's focus on what we can do.
Yeah, I just wanted to share because I've sat on two boards, community corrections and also one for offender success that focuses on our parole population. when there's a higher utilization, the state has met the need. When there's a reduction in utilization, I've seen the state reduce it. And it's not just in Wayne County. I've seen it all across the state because I sat in Lansing positions and saw us have to remove money from areas and move it to other areas that was utilizing more funds. So I agree. We really need to focus on how to increase it. And that's what I'm here trying to do, is to figure out how can I increase the number of referrals that just my department makes to support increase in services. I'd rather have us be at a capacity, and I can argue that there's a need to bring in more funding or take more funding from other areas, than for me to argue, unfortunately, we need more funding, but it's not actually being used. So utilization is extremely important for us to be able to have the funds. This isn't a grant where you just get a blanket amount of money and it sits and rolls from year to year. It is a funding based off of utilization. That's how it is by design.
Crime statistics go up and sometimes they go down. Around holidays, you get more domestic violence. We had a down year last year and didn't fill all the spots and didn't use all the money. So I think it's entirely possible that this year those statistics will go up. I don't know, but if they do, I'll be asking you why we didn't get the money.
Well, I can tell you one of the things that I've seen is sometimes people utilize agencies that are not under community corrections. Salvation Army Harbor Life, for a prime example, Judge Kenny was very, very strong with that. We had a lot of referrals that went to Salvation Army Harbor Life that was not a CCAB funded agency. And it wasn't based off of the type of offenses that were being committed. It was the referrals that were being made. So people drive referrals. It's not just the offense that drives it. It's the people who actually make the referrals and connect entities to the services. So if we can get people, meaning all parties, all that represents parties at this table, to get those referrals to increase, then the utilization will be there.
Harbor Light and Salvation Army, though, they didn't receive any funding from this program, right?
No.
Yeah, okay. And part of that is because, they when nobody else will take these inmates, they will. And so I think that's one of the reasons why you saw the increase. And I think um, both of you are right, have good points, and I don't think either one of you are wrong. Uh, Certainly, we can't forget the fact that we're kind of still real at a reset after COVID, because COVID really changed a whole lot in terms of how we do criminal justice here in Wayne County. Prior to COVID, our average bookings, we were booking in about 25,000 to 29,000 people a year. I think we booked less than 15,000 people in the jail last year, and the numbers are just not what they used to be. And so I think we're still kind of like in that reset mode and how criminal justice is done here in Wayne County. And you would have hoped that, yeah, the state would have taken that into account and give us a little leeway there, but they didn't. They said, nope, the numbers are what they are, and we just got to find a way to get them up.
And just let me try and shape it so we're all leaving out of here, thinking the same thing. In going forward, that was one of the suggestions that we said when we're talking about utilization and not maximizing our utilization. Remember, I said because we've talked about the things that we're going to start putting in place. Well, the next CCAB meeting, we will have our 5 designated funded programs through CCAB through the grant. The 5 funded programs, we will have the data that we will be able to look at and say where we should be, because we do keep track of that. How many referrals we've had or where we should be. Again, remember I made the analysis is we may have a program that at the end of the year they we should have had 100 referrals to meet their maximum utilization. Where every month we can look at that and say they're at 15 where they should have been 25. So that will give us real time evidence of what's happening that we can sit and talk and brainstorm and say, kudos, we're above utilization, and we have people waiting for programming, or we'll be able to say, okay, we're still not meeting utilization. What do we need to do? So we're looking at that in totality. So we will get statistics. We will get data to analyze. Okay, and we will focus on the funded programs of the grant so that we can know these 5 programs we need to meet utilization and those 5 programs, and we will. So I just wanted to wrap before we close. I want us to make sure that we don't lose sight of the big picture here at Community Corrections. Any questions? And if I am correct, I think public comments is next.
Yes, such other matters.
Oh, such other matters?
Item F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the board.
Yes, we're good with that.
No, it's okay. Item G, public comments. There are no hands on Zoom and no emails were received.
At this time, if no one has any more comments, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Yes,
So moved.
Oh. Do we have anybody in the audience with public that have public comments?
Moving too quick.
going once, going twice.
Going once? Going twice? Okay. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.